Evaluation, tools and techniques. You are already familiar with what is evaluation, so we will just look at the dictionary definition for evaluation. It's the making of a judgment about the amount, number or value of something. That is what is called assessment. And why we need evaluation? The evaluation is needed to know whether something is actually required. So this is point number one. And then if we know something is required, and we also need to know whether the something is actually working. So we can actually do qualitative and quantitative measures to find out whether the thing whatever we have introduced is working. A simple analogy or an example is checking to find out what is the best way to evaluate which type of fan we can actually purchase. Now we have a 3-wing fan, we have another 4-wing fan. So depending on the size of the room capacity, we can decide which type of fan actually gives more air for the people who are sitting. The long wing generally gives airflow for bigger circles, whereas the short one gives airflow just below it in a much more efficient way. Since there are more number of wings are there, the air is given much more efficiently for a shortest area, whereas here we have only 3 wings, so the air can be given to more area but at a much lesser efficiency. And of course these two fans may also use different types of powers. So based on that, what is the requirement for that particular room size and the area where you want to actually have efficient airflow, you can decide between whether you want to go with the 3-wing fan or a 4-wing fan. So this is whether our first analysis is whether the room requires a fan or not. And if the room requires a fan, then we have to find out what is the type of the fan we have to actually use for efficiency, whether we have to go with a 3-wing fan or a 4-wing fan. Here the 4-wing, the length is shorter, so but the numbers of the wings are more, so that means the airflow displaced is going to be much higher compared to the 3-wing fan, which is having a longer length but lesser number of wings. So this way we can actually efficiently find it out whether the room requires what type of the fan. So that is what is called evaluation. And based on that, we can actually decide like whether we need any improvement or not. The same way we can also use evaluation for understanding the students' knowledge, how much they have learnt during a particular session or a particular class. So there we do need to know the evaluation, how the strategy actually works. And this can be used for various ways. One, to measure whether the teaching process is actually working. That is, the delivery by the lecturer or the teacher is whether it is working or not. Then the teacher can also give distribution of notes. So these are actually required, and how much improvement or efficiency is required for improvement. So all those things can be done through evaluation. And this is from the teacher's perspective. And for the student's perspective, or to know whether the students are actually learning something or not, we can also conduct assessment. So evaluation can be for the teacher as well as for the student. So when we talk about teacher, we are looking at the teaching process, how efficiently that is being performed by the teacher. And when we look at students, we are looking at the learning process. So put together we can say teaching learning process involves evaluation. And how we can do the evaluation? We have two major types. One is a formative assessment, another one is a summative assessment. You are already familiar with that, so I am not going to go detail into this. It can be, the formative assessment can be conducted regularly, and it can help identify the misconceptions and the learning gaps. And doing this, we can also find out whether a course correction is required or is essential, or it is possible for that particular course. We can actually do that. And some of the examples include quiz, MCQ, short answers and assignments. And when we talk about summative, this helps in a comprehensive analysis of learning. So generally the summative assessments are done after a period of time, whereas the formative assessment can be a continuous one. And this is something similar to the summative assessment can be using project works, final presentation, etc. Then let us look at the different types of evaluation. We have formal and informal method. We also have surprise quizzes and scheduled quizzes. We have oral or written evaluation. We have graded and ungraded evaluation. So for example, some examples include informal means you can simply ask a question in the class without giving any grades or other things. So it can be a ungraded informal assessment within the class to know what the student had learned in the previous class. So simply we can ask few questions and to few students to know how much is the learning occurred during that particular last session. And we can also give some surprise quizzes. The surprise quizzes generally are graded, so we can also see how the students are performing. We can also have open-ended responses or closed-end responses. This is mainly useful for discussions or social science subjects, so we can actually use these kind of responses or assessment so that whether the student is confident enough to speak out, that we can easily find it out. And it can be brief or extended, so you can have a question answer session for 5 minutes or maybe for half an hour. So these are the various types of evaluations we can conduct. And this website, the UNICEF Serbia website, is actually giving an excellent repository for various online digital education tools that are available. This website actually gives entire information. The details of the website is given here at the bottom of the screen for you to go through that. Here are some of the examples of the softwares or the tools which are available, which is shown in that particular page which is given here. Say for example, you have Animoto, Binumi, Bones, Chartsy, Edmodo, Crowd Signal, Class VR, Coggle, are some of the different tools which are available for evaluation or assessment. Now, these are all the different types of assessment what we can actually perform. So one is we can look at the critical thinking skills of the student. We can also measure how the students are able to perform problem solving approaches, or we can also look at the demonstration techniques of the students and whether they are able to self-manage the things what is given to them, and how quickly they can access the information or how they can manage the information what is given to them. They can also we can also study about demonstrating the knowledge by the students. So these are the various ways, various points we actually would like to look for assessment, where how the students are performing. This can be done using various methods. The critical thinking can be analyzed or assessed using writing of essays, reports, or reflective journals. The problem solving skills of the students can be studied using multimedia or text-based scenarios. We can also give some case studies and ask the student to respond to some of the questions that are being posed. So by that we can also measure how the students' ability to solve the problem, whether it is improved or it requires improvement. Those things can be easily found out. And these are all the various methods by which these kind of the assessment can be carried out. And some of the assessment tools available online are given here. The first one is Google Form, which is a free Google tool which is available for the assessment, and Socrative.com, Formative, Padlet, Kahoot, Quizzes, Quizlet, or various other places or tools which you can actually use for the online assessment. Some of them requires basically subscription. So you do need to subscribe to that particular software for making use of it, whereas Google Forms are available freely. And what are the different types of evaluation? We will be talking about crossword puzzles, basically online mode to create crosswords, and offline mode also is available. Both these things we will see. Then we will also look at Google Forms, Quizlet, and Kahoot. So let us look at the various steps to create the crossword puzzle. The first and foremost word is we have to create the questions in Microsoft Word. So this is the first and foremost thing, because before creating a crossword puzzle, we do need to have the questions ready in hand. Then we have to identify the words that will go into the crossword puzzle. So this is the second step we have to do. Then we have to create the clues from the simple statements, we can actually create both the words that will go into the crossword and the clue. I'll show how it can be done very quickly. And then we have to enter the word and the clues in the field, that is in the online website, wherever the place is there, we have to enter. I'll show the demonstration so that you will follow it very quickly. And we can choose between across and down or horizontal and vertical for the crossword puzzle. And then finally we have to create the our crossword. So here I had given some examples of how to create the crossword puzzle. So here I have actually used the module in which I am actually teaching. So this module has 30 minutes of a lecture and 15 pages of reading material. So after the students watch the video and read the materials, they have been asked these kind of questions. So this is basically for a chemistry subject which I am teaching. So I have chosen only the chemistry questions here. The first one is, during the bond formation, both electrons are denoted by one entity. Donated by one entity is heterogenic bond formation. So these are some of the statements which are taken from the book, and you can also see there are various other statements are given. So these statements are also basically used for creating our question. Now, what is the question part or the crossword word that will go into the crossword is given here, underlined here. Say for example, in the first one, during the bond formation, both electrons are donated by one entity is heterogenic bond formation. So I actually want to know whether the student understood between homogenic and heterogenic bond formation. So how the bonds are formed, that requires electrons to be involved, and whether one entity gives both the electrons or both the entities share the electrons. Based on that, we say it is a homogenic or heterogenic bond formation. So for that, I just want to know whether the student understood the concept or not. So this is the word that will go in the crossword puzzle. Rest of the things will be given as a clue to the student. The same way, the other questions are also framed in the same way. So basically, if you look at the seventh one, the elementary step is a single reaction step with a single transition state. So when we talk about reaction mechanism, the student needs to know what is an elementary step, because the elementary step is the most crucial one in every reaction. And yes, overall reaction can have multiple elementary steps. So that is the reason every elementary step is basically a single reaction step with a single transition state. So this understanding if they have, then they can actually write a reaction mechanism with confidence. So knowing these kind of basic things are very, very essential for them to build their knowledge on the particular subject. So our question should be framed in such a way that we are trying to find it out whether the students actually understood the concept or not. So once we remove the crossword that will go into the crossword, after that whatever is left out is basically the clue for the students. So if you look at the first one, during the bond formation, both electrons are donated by one entity is dash bond formation. So the student has to answer here heterogenic bond formation. So this way we are creating first the crosswords that will go into the crossword puzzle, then the clues. Both are created from the single statement. Now we will move on to the next one as a demo. Here we see the teacher's corner. I'll go to the website. So this is our actual website. So this is teacherscorner.net, and once you type on teacherscorner.net in the web, this page will come up, and here we have the crossword puzzle maker. So in the Google, while you are searching, I'll just show how you can actually search that. Teachers Corner Net Crossword. So if you just type these words, whatever comes in the first Google search, this is the one, crossword puzzle maker, world famous, from the teacherscorner.net. So once you click on that, it will actually take to the same web page what was given earlier. So if you go back to the page, this is the same page. So you will actually reach the same website, and once you reach this website, you can actually go down to see and feel of how the page actually looks. So the top one is basically here, the words and clues are given. So the words are the one which we said that will go in the crossword puzzle, and the clues are the one which is actually the statements which are created. So once we fill up these boxes, we will be ready to create our crossword puzzle. So let me go to our presentation and show how we have actually done that. So this is the website. Here we have actually given that, and when I go to the next one, so this is where we saw in the actual website, words and clues are given here, and I have entered the information. As I told here, the words are copied and pasted in this particular boxes, and the clues are, the corresponding clues for the first question is entered here. So for each question we can write the words in the first column or the first box, and the clues are entered under the clues boxes. So once we enter all this information, we are done with creating our crossword puzzle. So the next one will be when we move to the bottom of the website. So let me go to the website. So if we have entered the information in this particular one, we will be going down to the website page. So here you will see make a crossword puzzle. So this is what is the next one we will have to see. Here we have across and down, horizontal and vertical. So these are all the two things which you can actually play around to make different types of crossword puzzles. So here once we click on the make crossword puzzle, it will automatically create the crossword. So I have actually done that demonstration here. So if we move to the next one, we have, once we click on the make crossword puzzle, we have across and down I have chosen. So this is how the display will come, and here we have the answer key, and here also we have the puzzle. So what we have here is the puzzle. So the crossword puzzle will be created as shown here. And once we create that, we can actually save this as either PDF file or an image. So this is the image which we can create using the previous one as I shown here. So here you click on the image, then it will automatically generate the image as shown here. And if you click on the PDF file, then it will show create a PDF file as shown here. Here is a download option, here is a print option. So if you are planning to print or either download it, you can actually click on any of these icons, and then you can actually download it to your computer. And once you click on the answer key, because when we are creating the crossword puzzle, all the time what happens is maybe in the first time or the second time you can remember what are all the answers, but if you keep on making more number of crossword puzzles, then you will forget like what are all the answers to the question. So generally what we can do is every time whenever we create the crossword puzzle, we can actually save it along with that with the answer keys. So in the puzzle, once you click the other one, which is the answer key, which is shown here in the green color, once you click on that, it will show the answer keys from your crossword puzzle. So here also you will see the answers written along with that particular crossword. So this again you can actually save that. So here is a PDF image, here is a JPEG image, this is the PDF one. So you can save any one of the form in your computer for your later usage. Now if you are using the same crossword but you have chosen horizontal or vertical one in the actual make the crossword puzzle, then it will give an entirely different set of crosswords. So this way what will happen is like, you can actually play around with different ways of creating multiple crossword puzzles without creating new questions. With the same 10 questions, you can create multiple times multiple crossword puzzles which you can actually share with the students. So that way with the one set of question papers, you can at least make 10, 15, 20 different types of crossword puzzles. The only thing what you have to do is move between either across and down and horizontal and vertical. Whenever you create or click on the make a crossword puzzle, it will all the time it will create a random one. That means it will be creating new things. So n number of times you can create the crossword puzzle with the same 10 questions. So So this can also be saved as a answer key. Once you click on the answer key, you can actually see the answers coming up here. So you can use the PDF image or PDF or image to save your file. Then the next one is the Discovery Education Puzzle Maker. So here you can go to the Google and search for the puzzlemaker.discoveryeducation.com. So here once you click on that, the website actually opens up and you can see this one. We have to do 4 steps: step 1, step 2, step 3 and step 4. So the step 1, you can give a title for your crossword puzzle, and then step 2 is the important one you have to remember. So this is the grid size for your crossword puzzle. If you give a less number of size for your crossword puzzle, then the number of questions you can be creating is actually limited. So I will show with a few examples to see why we have to give a bigger size so that we get actually all the questions covered. So here I have 1, 2. Only 2 questions are covered here, and the size I have entered is 8 by 8. And here, how do you enter the words? So here enter the words and clues. So the first word, whatever you are entering, will directly go into the crossword, and the next, all the things are considered as a clue. So I click next. So the 2 crosswords which are there are actually created here. So this is basically across 2 and across 1. Both the things are actually given. This is across 2 and down 1 are given here. So this we are actually not mentioning. The software itself, actually the web page itself creates it. Now I keep the same number of 8 by 8 squares, but I have increased the number of questions. So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 questions I have actually introduced. So when I introduce 6 questions, can we make a 8 by 8 crossword puzzle? If you click on that, we only get 2 questions only. So that means if the size of the grid is small, then the number of questions that can be accommodated in that particular crossword puzzle is going to be limited only. So how do I change it? The only way to change it is increase the width. That is in step number 2, the number of squares for the puzzle we have to increase. So from 8 I had gone to 10 by 10. Now when I go with 10 by 10 also, I still have only 3 questions entered here, not all the 6 questions. So then I have to even increase the number of squares. So I have to go with 15 by 15 size. When I go with the 15 by 15 size, now all the 6 questions are seen here. So here we have 2 questions in the across and 4 questions in down. So that way we can actually make different types of crossword puzzles. And here by simply changing the number, say for example, instead of 15 by 15, I put 15 by 20, then we get entirely different sets of crossword puzzle for the same 6 questions. So by simply changing the number of the grid size, you can actually create more crosswords using this Discovery Education's website. But the only limitation is this has to be saved as a image file only. This cannot be saved as a PDF file. Now here 15 by 15 and 15 by 20 for the same 6 questions are given. So you can see the difference between these two. So by simply changing the grid size, we can also make more number of crossword puzzles using the same questions. So this way you can actually create a more number of crosswords using the same questions. The next one is the hot potatoes, and the hot potatoes are basically used for a standalone version. You can download it from the hotpot.uvic.ca. So from Canada, the university professor had actually put it, so you can actually download it from his website. And once you download it, and you can actually install it. So these are all the screens which will come. You can give a username if you want, and then you can actually use the language, which language you want, and then it comes like this. So the only thing limitation what I have seen that is this is created, it's a much older version that was created, and it works perfectly fine in Windows 7 machine and Windows 8 machine, but in Windows 10 machine it gives lots of problems. So I couldn't use it more effectively, and moreover here when we are inserting questions and other thing, more number of steps are required, which are little bit complicated compared to the online one. So the teacherscorner.net's website or the Discovery Education's website. These two are the best one for you to create more number of crossword puzzles. So this one you are already familiar with, so I am not talking about this. I'll just go to the entry point only where we have been discussing. So these are MCQs. You can actually insert MCQs into the Google crossword. So let me show some demonstration of this. So I have actually entered a couple of questions. So there is a separate video I have created for entering this one, but still I will show here how it can be basically done. So you have to first type the question here. As someone mentioned, the enter option doesn't work here. What you can actually do is you can keep on typing. So say for example, there is no enter working here, but I want to type more information, which will go into the next line. So you can basically keep typing, and that way this will automatically take up whatever you are typing to the next line. So you don't have to press enter. Unfortunately, if you are going to make a paragraph type question, this doesn't allow you to create a paragraph type question. Even another way to solve this is like, we go to the Google Docs and create a new Google document. I go here, click on this one, and I go to the Google Docs. So we can go to the Google document, and in the Google document, let us try to create the paragraph type question if you are interested in creating one. So I just type few things. I want to create 2 paragraphs for this question. Okay, this is the second paragraph. Because here I could enter, so got it. Here I could enter multiple lines, so maybe I will type this is a test document, this is a test document, test paragraph. Okay, so I have typed 3 different lines basically by entering. So I simply copy this and I go to the Google Forms. I create a new question by clicking on here, because as we have typed 3 lines, I simply paste it. Now if you look at, everything is coming continuously. So currently the Google Form does not permit entering the information in the paragraph form. The only thing possible is you have to type everything continuously. So this is one of the limitations. Don't worry about that. If that is the case, you can actually create 2 different questions if you want. Or another better option for you to do that is, if you want to type the same way, I go here to the so this is a Word document. Let us look at this one. So we can increase the size a little bit. Okay. So this is now coming as 3 lines, and we have to go to snipping tools, because this is one way to actually do that is go to the snipping tools. You click on that, and now the snipping tools will automatically open up, and here you go to the mode. We want a rectangular snip, so click on the rectangular snip, and now just copy it. So this is now saved. So you save this as whatever we have typed, save as. I'll put this in the picture folder. I am saving into my computer, Q1. I'll simply type this is Q1, and we save this question as an image file. So because if you directly type this and copy paste it in the Google Docs, basically the Google Docs does not allow you to enter the information as shown here, because we could not make it like a paragraph way. So what is the other way to do that is, we have to do it using a little bit circuitous route. So we have to enter the question now. So instead of entering the question, here is a image, add image. So the question is basically in the upload the question. So I have to browse it. It is in the computer. So once I click on the browse, it is in the picture folder. So the first question Q1 is the one. I click on Q1, say open. Now you see the whatever way I have typed in the Google document, the same is coming up as it is shown here, not in the continuous font as shown here. I want to create 2 paragraphs for this question. If you look at here, entire thing comes in a single line, but here all the things are coming in a separate line. So this is if you are unable to make paragraphs using directly typing here into the Google Forms, another workaround is do the entire thing, whatever you want to type the questions or create questions in the Google Docs. You can use the Google Docs to create, or whatever you want to do, you can create in the Google Docs. Then use the snipping tool to simply take a screenshot, because snipping tool is another smaller version of a screenshot. So you can use a print screen to take the entire screen. Instead of that, then you have to use some cropping tools to crop it. Instead, snipping tools permits you to just copy only a particular part of the screen, so that you can only save that particular part. So that way you can use the snipping tool, and once you use the snipping tool, save it as a particular JPEG image or a PNG image into your computer. Then using the add image icon from the Google Forms, you can insert the question to the particular Google Forms. So this way you can actually use it. And in the other one, I have actually given more ways how you can actually create various types of question papers, especially for math. I had given a separate video. You can also watch that video to see how different types of there are 3 or 4 different options are there. Using that, how you can actually effectively enter questions in the Google Forms. So you are already familiar with both the MCQ and the MSQ types. So I'll just go through that very quickly. So what I generally do is I draw the structures in the computer using a software, chemistry structural drawing softwares, and I just take the screenshot or the snip of that particular thing, and then I paste it here using the image option. Add image option is there. So with that, I will actually enter the question. And MSQ type you are also familiar with. So MSQ types are actually the square boxes are given. So this tells that there are more than one correct answer is available for this particular question. And with that, you can actually effectively use Google Forms to create evaluation. And there are some limitations with the online tools for evaluations. One is no option to export results. So this is Google Forms, you can actually export the result, but there are some other test modes and other things where you can actually cannot export the answers. There is no option to analyze the answers, but in Google Forms you can actually use Excel sheets, export, and then from that you can also use. And Google Matrix rubrics is also available within the Google Classroom. You can use that to find out or analyze the results of your Google Forms. LMS is required for auto grading. Yeah, this is really required, because Google Forms you cannot automate the grading unless you actually know the answer. Some of the MCQs you can enter the answer, MSQs you can enter the answers. Cheating and plagiarism can only be checked using Turnitin or Orkun, because if you are asking your student to submit short answers, or you ask them to submit some reports, then in those kind of cases we do need to do the Turnitin or Orkun platform to find out whether there is a cheating or plagiarism by the students. So this is an additional step you may have to perform. And Quizlet is one place, and Kahoot is another place where you can actually create different types of questions which can be shared with the students.